It might be the first weekend of June, but we're talking about the Derby. See what's going on out west on this week's episode of the Indy Bar Report podcast. We're back again, 325 episodes in, and we have one news story, and then we're talking ball. Isn't that lovely?
It's beautiful, man. Out here talking ball.
Used to pray for days like this.
Yeah, for like months almost. I mean, off the top of my head, October through April.
So we had to, I was going to say, so you went to sleep when September ended. No one woke you.
Shut up.
This is the kind of commentary people listen to this show for. Certainly not the baseball talk. Certainly not the interesting ideas or original investigative journalism. No. They come for this.
I don't know what this even is, but good for them.
Trainwreck. That's what this is.
Trainwreck, just like the top 10 rankings this week. That was on me.
Yeah. You made me put an extra note in my video where I said, it should probably be up. You probably saw this video by now. And then it's underneath, you see, when Ryan releases it, I'll put up the video.
That's on me. It's like...
Don't worry, I threw you under the bus.
No, and I'll be honest, the most embarrassing part of it is, too, it's not like, oh, Ryan just planned poorly. It was like Ryan thinks poorly. It was like... Because I was like, oh, I'll just do it. We were pushed back a day, and then we brought in our new person. So, like, it had like a 36-hour delay. And at that point, I was like, well, like, we still got time. And
I can save it.
Then all of a sudden... I realized, wait, it's like Thursday. And I was like, it's not like we have already been doing the poll week after week. So I was like, all right, I'm going to just start it next week. It's fine.
It's basically the same anyway. And you've really given some inspiration for me to put something up that no one else is going to see, but you're going to see it and I'm going to see it. And we're both going to have a good time because we're both seeing this, which is my new background.
I hate everything.
We used a professional background for too long, and now I'm happy we don't have that. And eventually, when we get an interview scheduled and I don't change this, it's going to be even funnier.
The crushing weight of a real background.
I know, terrible. So we do have news this week. We should probably get to that. There's one story, and then we're done. It's in the Pioneer League. So Pioneer League, leadoff hitter, back-to-back
Your
weeks.
moment.
But don't worry, this one's going to be a home run of a story because we have a 13-week in-season tournament coming from the Pioneer League, and it has 72 hitters going head-to-head in matchups across all the teams, and it is a home run derby. So it's going to happen on Saturdays. I'm going to pull up the article, too, while I'm describing it, so that way I can fill in any gaps here. Or better yet, I could just pull up the press release, seeing as I'm already... Each team's going to send one batter up at a time on Saturdays, 1v1. They're going to get 2 minutes to hit as many home runs as they can. And if you hit more home runs, you win. You're apparently going to get 2 matches here. If you win both matches, you win the overall contest. So if you're 1-0, if you split, then it goes to the last blast, which, some people could take it as an innuendo. Or you could just say it's a great name. I'm going to go with the great name, but I understand the innuendo. And it's essentially a sudden death, 3 swings, and then you're done. Whoever hits the most home runs in the 3 swings will get the win, and thus would get the overall victory. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, what's going to happen at the end of 13 weeks? Well, the top 4 batters and top 4 teams are going to get a cash prize. There's also a fan component as well. Fans can get in on the action by guessing the total number of home runs hit for each match and answer yes or no if a gold home run derby ball will be hit for a home run. By the way, there's a bonus ball. It's a gold home run ball. If the guy hits it, it's 2 home runs instead of 1. Yeah, I know. Cool. If you guess the correct number and if there will or won't be a golden home run, then you have a chance to win one of 5 grand prizes of 2 tickets and $1,000 travel voucher to the 2026 Home Run Derby at the Major League Baseball All-Star Game in the city of Philadelphia. Now, pros, you get to see a cool event. Cons, you have to be in Philadelphia. So that's,
Wow.
pros
Wow.
and cons to everything in life, I guess. So, that could be fun for them. Don't know how much cash each team is going to be getting or players could be getting, but given the way NoCo's going, they may need to really get some home run hitters on that roster.
My initial reactions, right? I assume this has been in the works for a long time. There's a cash prize. There's all this. The conspiracy part of my brain did go rolling out 2 weeks into the season right after the NoCo news is becoming an issue.
Yeah.
Does feel like working on your SEO a little bit.
Yeah, which in total fairness there, I could believe that this was in the works and they were planning on announcing it sooner than later, but they may have bumped up the timeline a few days or a week or two.
Also possible.
Yeah, I think that's more likely the case.
Yes. Additional notes.
Yeah, we did get, just for reference, we did get this on June 2nd, and the NoCo stuff came out, May 31st?
Yeah.
So, 48 hours later, hey, what do you know?
Right. So, additional thoughts, though, just from a practicality standpoint. I do like it. I think anything to bring in more of a crowd. Home Run Derby's bringing a crowd, sure. Post game keeps them through the whole game, which is good. Not sure it's the best option, but I see the strategy. Pre-game is weird. Then, if you look at it, you got a couple things here that I've noted. I think it's good to get more of these, to get them more regular. So, for example, looking back last year, on average, there was 26 knockout rounds last year. On average, it looked like about 2 a team. Billings didn't have any. Ogden had 2. Is that math right? So it's about 4 a team. That's right. Because there's 2 teams in each, so it's about 4 per team. But yeah, Billings had 0 and all that. So it's good because night 1, it really occurred to me, and a lot of the time it's like I think when I see a knockout round coming, first of all, you got to time it right. So I've only seen a few of them. And then the other times it's, I scrolled another game or whatever the case may be. I was watching it honestly with Andrew, shout to apparently my new co-host on my side of things. And we were watching on opening night because he came over because I was watching all the games and he wanted to see the Glacier opening day. And Oakland went to a knockout round. It was a pretty good game. Went to the knockout round, and buddy, I think it might have been 10, but it felt like 15 minutes. It's moving around the mound length. It's moving around because they put out the mound that you stand on for the Derby. They're moving around the L screen, getting all that set, getting that in, by the way, first of all, because usually it's not coming from the dugout. You got to bring it down. Yeah. And then adjusting it. And it seemed like there was an issue with figuring exactly where to put it. They moved it way up at a certain point, to where it actually was supposed to be. And everyone seemed out of practice. I mean, looking last year, they did do 6 of them. I don't know if they were home or away, but Oakland Rounds crew, I mean, I'm not trashing them for it. It just seems like something where it's all right, how do we do this again? We haven't, find it in the binder type of thing. This is a protocol we don't normally do. That was interesting. I think by 1, it gets them a little more used to it. 2, it gets your fans a little more used to it also, because then you don't need to hopefully as much rely on so here's how we're going to decide this game you just fully sat through type of thing. Bring a little more familiarity to the rules and how it all works, things like that. And it gets people a little more practice, like the batters and things like that too, because I think that's part of it. And maybe lets you sort of figure out, without it being a high stakes situation, who is my batter for this type of thing.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, only having the one guy, though, I'm not sure how much experience he gets for the rest of the guys in that team. It's just really the one guy that's getting the experience there. I do agree.
Switch the person out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do agree that it does get the grounds crew in place. It's a good thing that they're kind of not used to it, because this would be kind of lame if a lot of games were decided by this. And I hope the biggest thing from this is that we could just start calling the knockout round the home run derby as opposed to the knockout round, which is just, I understand the legal issues with calling it a home run derby, but come on, partner league this thing, call it a home run derby, which I guess is part of the reason why they were able to get the grand prize pack there for the fans and whatnot. But I do agree, it's interesting. I also understand part of the cause of putting it on Saturdays before the game is it helps get people in the ballpark earlier. It prevents a late arriving crowd on a Saturday, which would just juice the attendance even more, probably juice your concession and merchandise sale, which is huge. So that all helps a lot too. I imagine most teams probably don't struggle selling up boxes and things like that on weekend dates, but that's just another cause for hey, you want to have a group outing or something. Why don't you come out on Saturday? We got the pre-game home run derby. We got the game itself. Probably got a firework or drone show afterwards too. Full night, big night. We give you like 3.5 hours worth of entertainment right then and there for whatever the price of admission would be in a group setting per person. So it could be a real boom for them. So I do like that. I do think it may be a little complicated to track and follow over the course of the next, 3 months or so. So that feels like it could kind of catch up after a while. And
I think it certainly will be, by the way, because they also don't even have the knockout round standings up for 2025, though maybe they've been holding that back because they want to, instead of tracking knockout round standings, track home run derby standings.
But yeah, could very well be it too. The last kind of thing I feel like is, I do feel like on the rare occasion, and I'm sure it will happen once or twice. I mean, we've got 72 matchups here, so 72 times it's going to happen. At least 1 or 2 of these games are going to go to a knockout round. And so I'm sure people in the audience will be like,
yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, where it's like, I thought the home run derby already happened. And then you kind of got to announce over the PA, like, this isn't the home run derby. It doesn't count for the in-season title. This is to decide the game. And it's like, well, you know.
So, yeah, that's a good point. I also think, I mean, the basic math says there's probably 4 of those that would come up. Like, you know, just the normal distribution of 6 games a week. 26 home run derbies last year. So that's interesting. I actually didn't think about that. The other one is I always shied away from this when I was working with teams. I really, with few exceptions, I try to avoid the post-game player involved event because you don't know what happens. And yes, there's so many things that are unpredictable. So I was a big proponent of the jersey off the back giveaway type thing, right?
Yeah.
But and I just accepted the risk that came with that. But I was also extremely aware of all the risks, which were getting a blowout loss, 2 a blown save loss, 3 at least your home team can't get knocked out or walked off. But if you're now needing both teams for this, the vibes could be really weird when it's both teams involved. So you can have a team that just got walked off. Walk-off wins also aren't great either because guys are going crazy. Sometimes jerseys are getting pulled off guys. Like then you got to reorganize and get at least 1 guy out there to do the home run derby. That could be a little odd. I get that. Hey, everyone's on board. There's an organized prize. That certainly helps. It's not just like a random promotion. They're like, what the hell? They have no stake in it. But like that always made me a little stressed. I got to be honest. That one always, like the post-game thing. There's so much I can have. The worst one I saw was we had like a pretty serious injury. We had a guy, I think, take a pitch to the face late in the game. And it was clear nobody wanted to be out there. And like, luckily it might have been Matt Strom.
Okay.
Honestly, who was like a real, he did a really good job of being like, hey guys, hey, he's fine. Like I was back because I think he wasn't pitching that day. He was like, I was back there. He's good. Like it's okay. And it diffused it. But for a moment, they're like, what do we know? And I was like, So hopefully we can avoid awkward situations. It does seem like at least having a prize in line helps, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, like that's the thing. Like, there's something about it. I'm like, kind of gimmicky because I don't like in-season tournaments all too much. But at the same time, I think as far as that goes, it isn't a bad one at all. It's interesting. It seems to be fairly engaging. The risks are fairly low, and I do kind of hate to bag on leagues trying new things when we constantly are saying, try new things, take some risks, do something a little bit different, right? And they're doing something a little bit different. So I don't want to drag them for it. I am interested to see how it goes, and I am interested to see how long the interest holds up for, right? Sure, it'll be interesting come, June and probably into July a little bit, but when we get to August, are we still going to care?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it starts to become very clear, like, oh, these teams are all clearly going to get it. These players are all clearly going to get it. And guys start to go, well, is it really worth it? Plus, I'm not sure if we mentioned the press release. I'll look very quickly here. But I don't think it said how much they were going to get prize-wise for the players.
Yeah, I'm not surprised they didn't publicize that.
I would like to know that number. Is it like
a couple drinks?
Yeah, it's like, is it a couple $100? Is it a couple grand? Is it 10 G's? Like, what are we talking here? Because 10 G's is a lot to make a man go, all right, time to take this shit seriously. That's like most of my salary for the year. I could double in one swing. Literally.
Yeah, honestly, true, but I don't think it's that high.
Oh, no, I think it's probably close to like 1,000 to 2,500 would be my guess.
I like the idea. I don't want it to be taken away. No, it does sort of. I always had a comment or a concept, but I don't think I'll be able to do it. I need to befriend more people, I think, in front offices. But my idea was like kind of pick a ballpark, like probably one of the ones closer to me, at least for year one, and pick a guy on each team when they come through and ask if they want to take part in the home run derby and give them like 10 BP swings, like during their batting practice, normal batting practice, and see how many they can get out and then just track it throughout the year. Yeah. And like, cause you can get, I think every team goes to Lancaster. That's what I figured out. I think that was it. So, so part of me is like, as long as no one touches my idea, we'll see. But I do like this. I think it's good. And I think it's the right place for it too. Cause there's a lot of nights, you know, on the East Coast where it's just like, it is hot, where it's gross, and you're just like, game over, it's time to peace. But I do hear a lot of these markets, it's beautiful on these Saturday night games. So like kind of the right vibe. Summer nights in Montana, I hear are insane.
This sounds like the start of a country song.
Saturday nights in Montana. Rodeo's out of town. Some at a baseball game. No hate, Montana. I love that for you.
Yeah. So we're going to switch gears from home run derbies to the Frontier League because they are very interesting here. And going forward, just as a program, we know, I think we're going to try to focus on 2 leagues a week. That way we can really focus and have a good discussion. And so this week's Frontier and Atlantic. Next week will be American and Pioneer. And we'll see from there. We'll kind of mix it up a little bit. All right. Frontier League. Now full in on them.
Oh,
first team I want to discuss here. Sussex.
No, I'm going to stop you. Nope. Why? I'm going to stop you right now.
Why?
Because I already said I want to discuss with you what's going to happen first. Great Falls, who has lost 10 in a row, wins one, or Quebec loses one, who has won 10 in a row. They're up 10-0 in the first on Down East. Right, good Lord, dude.
Quebec.
Oh my God. I was like, that can't be a 10 I'm seeing. Oh no.
Down East is doing the thing I did just got out of the inning, but Down East is doing the thing that I thought they would do, which is you sell in the first game of this doubleheader and try to win the second.
Yeah, buddy, that backfired.
I don't see why. I mean, Grace is out, but Check here is going to be eating one for the team.
Dude, that is unreal. That was fast. That is unfortunate. Oh my gosh.
So we can start with Quebec. Best part about this is, to keep it timely, 10 runs on 4 hits.
Oh, Lord.
See, so like, the Down East plan I defend would have worked. But you can't, oh God, all of them except for 1 run came off of the starter Grace. He only faced 10 batters.
Oh God. Which, look, in other circumstances isn't bad. It went hit by pitch, error by the shortstop, then walk, and then double walk. God, point streak. This play-by-play is brutal. Hit by pitch, single. Then we have a walk, a hit by pitch, a strikeout swing, a pitching change. After the strikeout swing, by the way, easy. A single, a walk, what is this? It keeps trying to reset.
Every time I register pitch resets.
It's crazy. Is that a single
walk?
Oh no. Is that a strike? Oh, what is this?
LaRue walks.
Oh, there was a wild pitch in there. Then there was a walk. And then we have a sac fly. And then we have a single, and then we have a put out to 3. Boys, what are we doing? Twice? I don't know. The run. I mean, who was up first this inning? Oh,
yeah, Olivia first inning. Felon.
Yeah, that's 16 guys came to the plate.
Yeah,
that's a crime. How'd these runs score? So the run scoring plays were like insane.
They already got one on third. Brutal. Oh, this isn't good.
Oh
They're about
my
to attack
god,
on
it's
another
getting
run.
bad. I already tweeted at them to take it easy because they're new here.
This is not how we treat our guests.
This is insanity. And they are the ones, they're not, it's not even a guest.
Guests in Quebec's world, it is. Yeah,
Time to
everyone's already
drop
scored a
really
run for
big
this team.
bomb. 10 runs in the first.
Yeah, Quebec, every single batter has scored at least one run. Kyle Kroll already has 2 runs scored.
Oh my god.
Currently, Antoine Lebreu has 2 walks on the day, 1 run, no plate appearances, or no at bats.
Yeah, I don't know here. This is bad. It's a bad start.
Oh god! And
Goes without
Czech's
saying.
the worst part is Czech has a solid ERA and a decent amount of work. He is actually one of their better bullpen arms, so like you can't
It
afford
sucks.
to. Okay, sack fly looks like
Run in.
oh put out, but you got the thing across. So it's
Okay.
not officially a
Okay,
sack.
the run
but
came
it's
across.
sack. And now he got Lebreu again. Will Lebreu get another
Dude,
walk?
this is to go to 20-4. 11
got
in a
another
row.
one. Kyle
This
Kroll
time
won.
last week, there was an article about their hot start, and they have not lost since.
Yeah, Kyle Kroll just took a guy deep.
This is why we're, oh my God, is it really 13?
12.
I got 12.
I forgot they didn't update the Kroll home run. So they put
Oh,
out and then
no.
not the home run.
This is terrorism on American soil. Yeah, I hate, like, look, I'm not sitting here being like, oh, Downey's getting dunked on. It's just every once in a while you see a team that's so overpowered against a team that's so unprepared for the situation at hand. And then to spread them thin with a doubleheader is just dirty work. Where are we? So, I will say a couple things here.
Yes.
Which is-
yeah, we want to keep it on Quebec now, or
It's up to you now. Yeah, you want to talk Sussex? That was actually my next take, I think.
okay. So-
What are you feeling there? Because we talked about them. We were sort of like, hot start. What does it mean in that division?
Yeah, I'm kind of. Here's the thing: I want to be high on them. I really do because well,
Mhm.
I like them. I think they could be a fun story and all that comes with that. Right. Same
Mhm.
time though, the Gateway Series did a lot for me to say
Mhm.
this team is maybe more a product of their division.
Yeah, they're 2-4 against teams I would call quality right now, which is drop 2 out of 3 Tri-State, drop 2 out of 3 to Gateway, and Gateway did it with some authority.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I'm hung up on here. In case anyone wants to know, that series went 6-5 Sussex win, then 2-9 Sussex loss, and a 7-12 Sussex loss. So I'm very confident in saying that I think Sussex is better than we had expected them to be coming in. They're not the doormat
Yeah,
we
they're
thought they were going to be.
right, and their
But
division is not what we thought it would be. And by the division, we mean the Boulders.
pretty much, yeah. And I think that they're going to be able to beat up on the lower tier teams. That's going to keep them going for a while here. I think the Ottawa series they have this week is kind of interesting for the weekend. And I
Mhm.
also think that I am going to be up there to watch them play the Boulders during the week because that is going to be a very fascinating series for me personally to watch because it's going to tell me a lot about how this division is going to go. You know, the Boulders have started to claw their way back. Sweeping New Jersey will do that for you. But I am not entirely sold on it as a team effort. That being said, I look at the overall group of guys here, and their regular starters I do think are good. I think Backstrom is good. I think Marcel is good. I think Robbie Jr. is good. I think a lot of these guys are pretty solid. A guy like an O'Brien, also pretty good behind the plate there. Any kind of offense you get from a catcher is just a bonus. So I like that a lot. I do think their starters are still good. They have 3-4 really good guys. I mean, Kellen Brothers is probably their weak link in the starting rotation right now, and a weak link with the ERA slightly north of 4 is hardly a weak link. So I do like it, but again, it's just I have such a hard time putting into perspective those numbers when you look at some of the teams they're beating up on. And just again, for reference, it's a lot of Three Rivers, it's Brockton, it is Windy City, it is New Jersey, right? Like the competition that has been of higher quality is Tri-City, where they lost 2 of 3. Admittedly, A 1-run loss, I don't really care. That could go either way. And even a 4-run loss, okay, bad night, whatever. But the Gateway loss, where it's like a 7-run loss and a 5-run loss, not great. But you can also make the argument, hey, end of a road trip. So, you don't put as much stock into that. Where I'd land on is we're going to wind up talking Sussex next week because I'll get a definitive answer on them by this time next week, or a couple days beyond that, because they get New York, they get Quebec. Those are two teams that are going to push and going to challenge them, and we'll be able to kind of get a good view on things then.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I'm thinking about trying to hit the Quebec game Sunday, but I think I'm at a Reading game Saturday night, so it might be a lot. But I'll let you know. But that Sussex situation is really precarious because we talk about the Boulders like as if they're still in last because they had that weird slow start. Like they won 5 in a row. They won 6 of 10. If they sweep Sussex, it's a 2-game lead in the division now. Like which is essentially nothing. So it is very much this could still become the division we thought it was going to be. And in fact, the order would not even be that surprising, though. I will say even Jersey's finding some wins, so I think that's
I would counter with this though. After they get through Sussex, they have Gateway for 3, and they have Quebec for 3, Ottawa sure, Brockton sure, Three Rivers sure, back to Sussex, which could flip it, and then Quebec again. So it's not exactly like they're going to get Murderers Row coming up, but then they do have a stretch where, hey, while you're playing Gateway, they're playing Quebec, but then you get done with Gateway right into Quebec. Sussex then gets done with Quebec, and they go right into Ottawa. I will say Sussex schedule doesn't line up as great. I mean, sure, after the New York series, so this would be New York series starts June 10. They get Quebec starting June 13, then Ottawa June 17, Quebec in Quebec June 20, back home on 24 to play New Jersey for 3, staying at home to play Tri-City for 3, and then up to New York for 3, back home for a bunch of easier teams. Then really they don't have a challenge until Washington comes to town mid-July. So in that perspective, it's a little bit more doable for them, but they do have a harder slate in the immediate. I think for me, where I'm kind of like, they should still control the division for now, just because the Boulders, who are they beaten? Down east in New Jersey. Like, these are not exactly Murderers Row. We just spent how many minutes talking about how Quebec's currently force feeding them through a straw. So,
yes, you're right.
I'm not really sold on it yet.
Which, by the way, do we think this is the start of who New Jersey and Down East are going to be the rest of the year? Down East is on their way to their 5th straight loss. Jackals have lost 6 in a row.
Jackals, yes. Down East, I want to see their schedule before I commit to that.
Yeah. I'll also point out some weird things I'm thinking, and this is something maybe I need to. Yeah, it's just, and I feel like we've talked a lot about that East Division so far, but it is just the most fascinating of the divisions. It's a bizarre situation. And if you look at it, I mean, what else are we going to obsess over? I mean, not only is Quebec way out in the North Division right now, 4 games on Tri-City and up a week and a half on the rest of the division.
Yep, but like, to go 11 straight,
the
too.
problem is, even if something happens or we're talking wild card, like Brockton's the closest team to Tri-City and they're 5.5 behind them. So, which, by the way, shout out to Brockton. I mean, they're holding in.
Yeah, Brockton's doing better than expected. And I will also
they're navigating the schedule ahead of them.
Yeah, I will also say that North Division, too, is starting to get it together a little bit. Brockton's looking more respectable. Tri-City looks like, okay, they deserve to have a wild card spot. I mean, right now, the second wild card in the Atlantic Conference would be the Boulders. They would slide in here. Although a couple days ago, we had some sub 500 teams that would have been getting in, which don't love that. But yeah, Ottawa is where I kind of want to turn my attention to here because as I pointed out a little bit ago, 7 game skid's big. And this is a team that I don't want to say had an expectation for, but we definitely didn't think that like it was going to go this bad here.
I mean, yeah, we expect at least a war with Tri-City for that second spot in the division.
Yeah, and it's just right now, it's not even close. And they're moving out decent players. Like,
I haven't gotten a chance to really do the full deep dive on what's going on with Ottawa, but I think it's not like, let's not say it's far gone. This is not the end for their season. They're 3.5 games out of a playoff spot right now.
yeah, we're only a quarter way through.
It is interesting. They're 5-4 at home. They're 3-11 on the road. That's fascinating. So something's not traveling well. I mean, they do really not have any easy travel outside of playing in Canada, which I don't think they've had a road game in Canada yet. So who knows? I mean, that's something you have to adapt to and be okay with. I mean, you should be building with that expectation, but I'm just not saying it's easy.
The starting pitching isn't doing them any favors here. I mean, your best starter is Hill, and he's got a 4.6. So, like,
that was my next point for sure. Yeah, and if you look at it, I mean, the offense is second worst in the league right now when it comes to runs scored. So that's not a winning combination. I mean, you could argue they're hanging near league average for pitching, but really it's the hitting that's just not really competitive. They are like 0.3, 0.4 runs worse than league average in runs allowed per game, but they are 1.5 worse than league average with runs scored per game. So that's really, if we want to pinpoint, that's kind of where things are going a little sideways on them.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll give them some sympathy early on the year. What looked like a 9-game road trip to open up is never going to be easy. And they went down east to Washington to Lake Erie. So that's a lot of travel. You know, you start off in Ottawa, go down to North Carolina, then go up to basically Pittsburgh, and then cut over into Ohio. That's a long trip there. And they scored 3 wins on that trip. So,
and giving credence to that, the first 2 wins though were the first 2 games of the season. So as that trip went on, they lost 5 out of the last 6. So there is something I think to that, and they did win their first 2 games off the bat in Ottawa, and they actually went 4-6 on that first homestand in Ottawa. So, and then right back to the road. So yeah, I get it. I kind of see it, but now they also lost 2 out of 3 to Brockton at home. So you know you can only use that for
swept by New Jersey like a week ago.
But you can't have it. Can't have that happening.
Yeah.
How about no?
Yeah. So like. But this could be a huge weekend for Ottawa when you look at it. I mean, you have 3 games against Celtics that could really turn things around. If you drop 2 of 3 at home and then have to go to Quebec, this could spiral into 5 of 6 losses there, which would then stick you with a record of what? 9-20? That's a tough thing to overcome because you figure you're going to need to be at least 500 to claim that last wildcard spot. And you're 11 games back at that pace. Nearly a third of the way into your season. Not impossible, but to be picking up, about 6 games in every 30? That's a very tall ask, while also fighting for the wild card. I'd be a lot more considerate to this team, be like, okay, well, let's wait it out. Let's see here. If they had losses like they had against Washington, right? You lose a game 3-2, 4-2, 10-6. Okay, these aren't terrible losses. 2-1 to Lake Erie. But when you start having losses that are 7-2 to New Jersey, 8-1 to Tri-City, 13-2 Tri-City, 17-4 Brockton, these are bad losses. For them, it's either like I'm getting blown out by 7+ or I'm losing by 1.
Point is also I think their starting pitching gave up 21 runs in their last trip through the rotation. Actually, more than that, I believe. Let's see. I can finish that number out real quick. Yeah, they give up 25 runs, so 5 runs per starter on average. That's going to be tough when your offense isn't producing. So, because I was like, well, let's see how the rotation lines up. That's kind of what I was eyeballing. Yeah, and by the way, not many innings either from that staff.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
I think it was probably near around 9. I didn't do the math, but I would say that. So, I would say they've got to. The big one here is how are they going to perform with this series with Celtics? Can they get a little bit of help since they're at home? They've been home this whole week. A little more pitching help, maybe get them through the weekend. They need to go into this Quebec series like rested and with guys who can at least get into like the 5th or 6th and keep them in the game. If that's not happening, this could turn ugly really quickly. And then even though they're playing Trois-Rivières, who I still believe is probably not as good of a team as them, Trois-Rivières can very quickly look like a better team if they go in with an absolutely destroyed pitching staff after the Quebec series.
Yeah. And I think that's very well possible. You could see that pitching staff start to go a little south here when you look at some of the offense you get out of Sussex County.
Mhm.
Are there a lot of home run hitters? Not particularly, but there's a lot of guys that find ways to get on base. And that's just as devastating when you think about it. I mean, you look at even a guy like Zimmerman here. He's batting under 200, but he also has 18 walks. So he's finding ways. And if guys towards the bottom of the lineup are doing that, another guy here at 16, that's making use pitches, which arguably is even worse than just getting a nuke hit off of you.
Right. Especially when you're a team who's struggling with some depth.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one where they're in a tough spot here. They're going to have to really battle through this next week, stay competitive in the division with that. And like, there's work to do, man. There's work to do with what this roster is going to look like. And this is not unsalvageable. Let me pull the lineup from the last game, and then we won't need to dabble too long. Cause I know once I'm pulling lineups, this could be a real garbage fire. But, I mean, if we look at last night's lineup, I put up 6 runs last 2 nights. I'm sure it's Brockton, but still, I mean, it's just not a lot getting on base. It's essentially, once you get past the 4 spot in the lineup, just from an average perspective, everybody's hitting 200 or below, except for, I think, Piakowicz. He's doing all right. He's off to a good start this year. 17 games, 291 average. So, I mean, but that's it. I mean, you got to start finding little moves you can make there. I mean, I'm the first one to excuse a catcher's hitting, but you got 2 catchers batting under 200 in that lineup right now, depending. So either one, isn't going to necessarily move the needle. And that's the issue too. I mean, when you have 5 guys that are just not really hitting the ball, it doesn't really matter what your first 4 do, unless they're all scoring, that rally is going to have to land in the guys who aren't hitting, or the rally is going to have to start with the guys who aren't hitting so that the top half of your lineup can work that. So I'm sure they're thinking about it. I'm sure they're looking at what they can do. I mean, the numbers they're getting out of Abbott at first base aren't working out. I hate to call him out, but that's a shorter sample size than I actually would have thought from him. I feel like I've seen him on the roster a while, but let me see what else we got. But yeah, that's where I'm like, yes, the moves need to be made, but where to begin, which is partially a hopeful thing. There's a lot of places to begin. Incremental growth can start kind of wherever. Part of it's AJ Wright wasn't in the lineup last night. That obviously doesn't help, but
yeah, I almost feel like for them, at this point, you write off the pitching for it is what it is and start to try to salvage the batting. Because at least his piece is already there. So if you can start to put all that together, at least you can try to get one side of the ball going and then work on the pitching later on and just start cycling through until you find something. It does feel like it's time to go shopping among college ball players now and see what you can pull out.
No, I mean, I'm with you. That's all I can think it can be your move at this point. See if anybody connects in the draft league real quick too.
Sure.
You're coming up on the draft, so you're going to get a pretty good idea of who's available.
Last point though, and this is a huge if they cannot turn it around, and if we get into the point of it's time to start selling off things, I imagine a catcher like Michael Furman is very valuable to a lot of teams.
Yeah, that's
Just
fair.
saying.
And it was unfair of me to jump on the catcher spot, but it is tough when you have 2 backups that are you know what I mean? No matter what option you go with when Furman's out. Also, Furman hasn't played in a week, so what's that about? So let's check that real quick too.
Yeah.
Before we sound stupid on something. Furman disabled us for 14 days.
All right. Looking
On base
elsewhere
around 500. Lord.
in the Frontier League, I'd want to take a quick look just at the West Division, because that division is kind of shaping up to be a fun one, ain't it?
Yeah, I'm you know me. I'll jump on the interest level that comes from the standings and the playoff system in the Frontier, but it is delivering so far.
Yeah, no, the Schaumburg Boomers have really kind of risen up, real hot streak lately. Joliet has made a great push too. So there's 3 games back. However, they're, not the same record, but one of the hotter teams around. Gateway's just spinning the tires here. And then you have Mississippi that's casually staying above float. And slowly,
Mhm.
Windy City's starting to crawl back to just being like a regular bad team and not like, oh dear God,
Four
what
out of
is
the
this?
last 10. Yeah, not
Yeah.
bad. And
So,
also, I think it's funny the difference between the East, the Midwest, and the Atlantic, which is something that we definitely considered. Like we've known
yeah.
this, but it's just funny to see it in numbers where the streaks currently across the Atlantic include a 2 game, a 2 game, a 5 game, a 4, a 6, and a 10 game, and then another 2 game. Meanwhile, no one has more than a 2 game win or loss streak in the Midwest right now. And it's just very funny, like the parity levels from one to the other.
Yeah, and like I understand there's matchups and everything that go into that, but
Sure.
like still the point is it's that true across the board. And even if you want to look at the last 10, like there's only I would call it 4 or 5 extremes. It got no, not even really. The extremes start to become more evident, right? Because you have looking in the West,
Mhm.
8-2, 7-3, 3-7, 3-7. Go up one division, you have a 3-7. Then meanwhile, in the Atlantic, you have an 8-2, a 3-7, a 10-0, a 7-3, and a 2-8. It's very interesting.
I don't know. I mean, in the last 10 games, we've seen Gateway go from leading the division to 3 games back.
Yeah, going from 10-3 to 13-10.
And talk about the wild card race right now. It's a banger because you got Schaumburg winning the division right now.
Yeah.
But then, and is it too early to talk wild card? I don't think so. Like 70 games to play is mid-season major leagues. We're watching it. So, but then you have the 13-10 division leader who is being chased by 12-10 Lake Erie. Yeah. And then 2 13-10 teams in the Midwest. So basically 4 teams all within a game of each other on and around the playoff cut lines. It's like, all right, okay, I'm interested.
Yeah, no, I mean, like Lake Erie, though, they are 3-7 the last 10, so they're kind of fading a little bit, but even still, it keeps it interesting. And even you look at a team like Evansville or Mississippi, they're not that far out of any sort of conversation for that. You know, they're what, 3.5 back?
But yeah, it's delivering so far. Also, shout out to Lake Erie for the black jerseys they're dropping. Those things are sick.
Oh, yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah.
Love those. Those are good, man.
Those,
I'm about it.
They work.
Crazy they haven't done that already.
Yeah, you can only wear them like once a night, though, or like once a week. Outside of that, they get a little too extra, but like kind of like how the Mets would do their black, they do that the same way.
Yeah,
perfect.
Like the Eagles will pick a game to do the blackout jerseys. Like that's kind of the energy.
Yeah, it has to remain special.
Right, I agree completely.
Yeah. But Midwest wise, yeah, just Schaumburg real quick. All around, really good team. They really stepped it up. Beating good teams too. They beat up Washington. They beat up Lake Erie. They're getting it done against really some of the better teams. They took advantage of Evansville and Gateway as well. You know, I'm really liking them as an overall team here.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of like recent games I've seen of theirs. Have you gotten actual eyes on them at all much?
Not too much. I saw a little bit when they were in the one Evansville series, and they looked like their team kind of hang around a little bit, which is definitely helpful. But I mean, I'm looking numbers wise right now. I mean, when you have Dynamo relieving core, it makes it for a lot of ills.
Yes, exactly. I mean, we have seen that model work. Like we can talk about how like the setup of bullpens changes, but like what we have seen ever since like even a few years back with Southern Maryland is like a good 7, 8, 9 will deliver. That's kind of what YOLO rode last year too. So like it works from Atlantic League to Pioneer League. So it is I would call it a solid theory of work.
Yeah, and like it comes down to just keep them in the game for the first 5 innings. That seems to be the play. You keep them in the game for the first 5 innings. We'll piece together the last 4. Batting wise, they're more than able to keep up here. I mean, you have 2/3 of your starting 9 batting above 300.
Right.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys with 4 or more home runs. Oh, wait, no, hit the back. There's another guy in there. Missed one.
Yeah.
3 or more in that grouping. And they also have Galarco, who does seem to be an MVP candidate so far. 25 games, 7 home runs, 35 RBI, 14 walks, 17 strikeout. And if you give me a second, I can give you the slash line, which is 351. 435, 660. Seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, that'll play, by the way.
Yeah, so when you have like a Calarco and really a Fitzgerald going back to back, plus Ren Spillane also adding into the fun party, like there's a lot to really like here. This is a really solid and fun team.
Right. I mean, and they, took 2 out of 3 against Lake Erie, took 2 out of 3 against Washington. I mean, right there, those are 2 competitive teams. And then going back, of course, to the Evansville and Gateway series. But that's the thing is I like that they are, as opposed to some of the other teams we talked about, they're getting it done against good competition. And it's kind of removing some of the doubt. Like, this is exactly who we are. Now, the question is, can other teams answer that? There's like, if I were to redirect this to NASCAR talk for a moment, a lot of times you see a team that wins like throughout the first 2/3 of a race or even first 2/3 of a season run into trouble on the back end because they don't have anything to adjust and everyone else can adjust to them and change what they're doing and take big swings at things. And that's where, it can be difficult too, where, you look and you go, okay, so they're set. They might lose 1 or 2 guys to signings throughout the year. We'll see where it goes. But, other teams now know kind of what the standard is and they're getting good looks at them. And will they be able to hold up over time? Now, I will say, they have not really played a super difficult schedule. A super soft schedule. Like, it has been difficult. They played Windy City a few times in there, Joliet when they were down, but Joliet actually kind of got them there. And then, Gateway, Evansville, and the series that we talked about here. So they actually do have some of their softer opponents ahead of them too, which is interesting to see. They got, not that Mississippi's that bad, but they got Mississippi. I think then they got their Atlantic division swing. They got Brockton for 3. Actually, they do not have a lot of Atlantic division play. Yeah, then they got New York. Wow, actually, I'm surprised they have that little interleague play. They've only had 6 games, I think. Okay. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Fascinating. So I was going to say, they probably have at least one East Coast swing to, potentially take out a couple of the teams we were talking about earlier, but maybe not. Okay. Interesting. They do have Jersey. No. Okay. No, I'm wrong. It was just listed funny. They have 6 games at one point. Got Sussex and Jersey there. So they're not a bad Atlantic Conference line for them when they go over, but that'll be interesting, man. I do think maybe it will get a little bit softer scheduling wise for them on second half too. So them doing this well early on is really saying something.
Yeah. And last team I want to just touch on, Mississippi, good for them. They are coming above. They'll get their shine later on, but Joliet's the team I want to talk about because the Mike Pinto team here, I kind of love this team a little bit the more.
Who's on the move, dude?
Yeah.
That's the Zach Westcott, by the way. What was that? What
800?
Ridiculous milestone was it now? 800? Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. 800. He's like gone to other leagues too.
Yeah. Gunnar
He's
Kynes
just been like a Frontier League merchant. He's been like bouncing around.
Like him and Gunnar Kynes on the same team is just kind of right.
Or just like, man.
2 dogs that have been around here for forever, bounce around just about every league. I think they both pitched in Gastonia too. And they're just kind of going out here and doing whatever they need to do. And I think it was it K's? Actually, I'm not sure if it's updated yet, but if Baseball Reference is to be believed across all levels, and it does include college, currently Zach Westcott is sitting at 999 strikeouts.
Hey, big dog. I like that.
So the next one is number 1,000. That goes back to college career and everything, but like
nice.
Even still, he's just like a dog, man. He shows up, just throws. Is he going to have a high ERA at this point? Probably yes. Is he going to strike out a bunch of dudes? At this point, still probably yes. Is he going to give you innings? Yes. And that has a lot of value.
We were just talking about how important it is. We were talking about the Ottawa run that they're on here and how much just depends on how deep into the game a lot of their starters can go to start this.
Exactly. Yeah. And like having a guy like Zach Westcott who's cool, just like, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to give you 5 bare minimum. I'm going to try to give you 6 or 7. It frees you up and allows guys like Flowers, like Kynes, like McAvoy to go out and dominate there and keep the bullpen fresh and keep things going here. Because you look at a lot of these bullpen guys, the rotation's pretty clear as to who's getting innings. Plastic's getting innings. Linderman's getting innings. Hopewell, with the 0 ERA, mind you, getting innings. Like, these are guys that are getting out there And then there's some other guys that are filling out with 9 innings here, 6 innings there. But like the way it's going, there's a couple of guys that spike the team ERA that makes it very deceptive. And I'm definitely going to be watching more Joliet because I think this is a team that I'm going to really like to watch here. Batting wise, the depth is kind of there, not as much so, but right now the pitching's keeping them afloat. And also, this, it is Braylon Marines over here too. Imagine going Billy Horton to Mike Pinto on the manager situation. That's an interesting dynamic.
Right.
They're great managers, but still, just like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. But it's like, yeah, it's got to be fun. But he's just balling out in the Frontier League. Good for him. Keeps stepping up.
The lineup right now is serviceable. It's keeping them in it. They're the type of team where they're kind of hot and cold, right? But
yeah,
and I've seen some games where I don't know, the approach looked weird, and that's what throws me in my head. There, I see them how far they are down in like the runs, like they're in the bottom 5 in runs per game, and that feels right to me based on what I see with them. But they do have games where things seem to be connecting better. I don't want to call anybody out or give too many specific examples at this point. Yeah. I'm going off the top of my head. I don't want to be wrong, but I know I've seen a couple games now where I would have been like, you need to, it's talking about getting a guy off the mound, right? Like maybe see some more pitches, and maybe they had swing first scouting on him or whatever, or guys just behind in counts. Like the vibe has been weird. And I don't know, maybe it's just getting more settled in, getting guys comfortable and getting more of a theory, seeing guys more on the mound and then being like, all right, we know how we want to approach this. But that has looked, I feel like with their pitching staff, like there is a really good set strategy on how they're going to go about things. On the offensive side, they're like, we'll see what happens. And it's like, well, that's not going to work when it comes down to it. But like, this is working right now. So that's good. Like, it's good enough to work right now. So that's cool. But yeah, the pitching staff, like, probably not talking enough about how good Gunnar Kynes has been this season. I mean, he just is, it's really hard to get anything off of him right now. I mean, throughout his career, obviously, but really he's at 31, he's still doing the thing. How key it is to have a guy like Westcott who can consistently give innings, and just that takes a little bit of pressure off of guys. You know, if a guy doesn't have his best stuff, you know, and you're pitching ahead of Kynes, you at least know that you can, you know, go 100% and not be concerned if you only make it through 4 innings, because odds are, if you're pitching in front of Westcott, that Westcott will be able to pick you up the next day. So that's good to see. And also Gunnar Kynes is one of those guys too. I mean, he's going over 5 innings per start right now. So that's good. Yeah, man. It's well constructed on the pitching side. It is not a disaster on the batting side. I think it just lacks, it's lacking, and it's lacking in power. I mean, they're getting guys on base and then they're not able, to do anything with it. I mean, they have 7 home runs so far in the first 23 games. That's not good. They're going to have to figure that one out. It's just, they're going to need to find some pop, or they're really going to need to commit to the bit and get guys moving. They're not running the bases super well.
What I'm kind of doing right now is I'm just scouting around for teams like, who can you go get? And there's a name that kind of pops up, and I have to check one thing really quickly to see. Okay, it almost certainly be a vet. He's definitely a veteran classification. Do we know how many vet spots are still available on the Joliet roster?
I can find that.
Okay, because that would be very helpful if I could have that information.
You know what? Maybe I can't find that. Never mind. There's the American Association that has that. Yep.
It didn't list the thing.
Not great.
Okay, so you assume Westcott is a vet. You assume Kynes is a vet. Blake Berry could possibly be a vet. And then I'm just looking at ages here. The name that kind of pops off to me, because he's kind of historically raked in the Frontier League, and he's not doing so good right now on a really not so good Atlantic team, is Chris Quitzer.
Oh, that's not a bad pull.
Yeah. Now, of course, this required him being willing to go back to the Frontier League. And when he's been in the Frontier League, it was New York and Tri-City. And he's very much a New York guy. He's from Buffalo and schooled in Buffalo. Played even his summer college ball in Glen Falls, New York, Adirondack, New York, and then won 11-game stretch in St. Cloud, Minnesota. And he played 1 season out in Sonoma, California. He seems to be an East Coast guy, so I'm not sure he'd be down for it. But if you were to get
It's not
to
like his
say,
job's under threat in Hagerstown.
fair, if you were to get to the point, like say, I don't know, mid to end of July, and it's clear that this Hagerstown team's not going anywhere, and you're like, hey, I'm not having a good year, you could, in theory, probably give yourself a chance to win and maybe put up some bigger numbers by just jumping over to Joliet. And you figure Quits is what? Mainly an outfielder, can play a little third base or first base if you need to, but you like him as a first base, mostly a third baseman. So let's see here. Obviously, I can't tell who's playing where recently, but
Yeah, it's Battaglia mostly. De La Cruz is a backup.
Battaglia is not particularly strong, I don't think. So you throw Quitzer in that lineup there. And even if you say he has a season more like his last one in New York, could be an option. Just a name that kind of came to my mind. Makes a little sense.
No, I mean, I'm with you. It depends if you want to make that trip, and I'm not overly confident in that one.
Yeah. Like I said, a little bit of a stretch, but
it's where you want to be. And honestly, I would be at the point where I'd want to make some moves sooner rather than later, because where they currently sit in things right now, which is competitive but not by any means secure in anything. If you take a shot now and it doesn't do enough or it doesn't do anything, you can take another shot again.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's common sense, but the wait and see approach is very, it's very enticing, especially when it comes to, one of the guys that you've already handpicked and been with for a month or so would be losing some time. I get that. But if trying to win long term, those are the kind of things that happen. But, for every time I say that, there's also a guy who goes wait and see and it works out. So,
yeah. Quick little fun game here, which is going to be a lot more fun before Quebec start bashing Downey's head into the wall here. 2 higher or lower things for you real quick. Sussex County wins and Quebec run differential. I have for Sussex County wins, 4.5 wins this week. For Quebec run differential, I had plus 23.5. Can we confidently say we're going to take the over number on Quebec runs this week?
Yeah. What was the number on that one?
Run diff of 23.5.
Yeah, we'll take the over there. And then
plus 12,
over under 4.5 wins this week.
Yes.
So we're talking 3 against Ottawa, 3 against New York.
I believe so, yes.
Under.
Taking the under, okay.
I think they get 3.
See, I could see it being 3, but I'm going under, but I think they're going to get 4. I think you can take 2 from each. I think getting 1 sweep and there's tough.
I think they could take 2 out of 3 from Ottawa. I think they're going to struggle against New York. I think because New York is good. I think because New York is motivated and ready for that.
Yeah.
I think New York's kind of been playing against some of these lesser teams like they're like kind of over it. I think they had that tough stretch with Lake Erie, Tri-City in the beginning, but like they whipped up on Brockton. They did take 2 out of 3 against Quebec. Like we know they can do it. I have a feeling New York might become really be the big dog here. And I think they're going to take this opportunity to do it. That's my guess.
I don't know. I'm still not sold on them yet. They're turning around.
I'm not saying they're a great team. So. I'm saying they're better than what I think. I'm still buying into what I saw to start the year.
Okay.
Like before the year, rather. And I think Sussex still some weaknesses that are not fully exposed yet, that as they see more teams, it's going to be that way. A little similar to how I've talked about Lexington in the past, that Lexington was getting away with some things to start the year that they just couldn't get away with after seeing some of these teams, like the better teams multiple times. And I think Sussex might be in that conversation, but we'll see. This could age terribly, but my Lexington criticism has aged pretty well. Though they have taken 2 in a row.
Well, I got that going for them, which is nice. Which, last point here, Quitzer to Sussex County could make sense. Quitzer to Sussex County could make sense if they have a guy or 2 get purchased.
Yeah, no, you are not wrong there. Very much so. But kind of anybody in that pocket.
Fair. That's very fair. So, Atlantic League talk. Didn't talk about them last week, talking about them this week. Here's the problem I have talking Atlantic League. This league has been generally disinteresting to me thus far.
Really? I know. It really has been.
Because
Like,
here's
the
the problem:
drama is like, is X team as bad? Like, if there was no second half, and you know how I feel about 2-half system, but
Yeah.
this is one half. All right, like cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I missed my opportunity last night because I was about to do it and I got distracted. But like, literally, Gastonia drops 2 out of 3 Lexington. I was about to drop the chat. Is Gastonia cooked?
Like it really does kind of feel that way, right? Like right now, York and High Point are notably better than everybody else. It's not even really close.
Yep.
Then you have about a 6-team pileup of just really mid teams.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we get to the end of the month and we do this mid report, like genuinely of these 6, I think 5 of them can qualify as mid as hell.
So we had earlier this week, I saw they had 4 teams that were all 17 and 18. Right now we have 3 19 and 17 teams, 2 18 and 18 teams, and 1 17 and 19 team. So we have half the league is within a game of 500.
Yeah.
2 teams are great, 2 teams are awful.
Yeah. And it's just like, it's very difficult to find something to talk about here. Like Charleston's starting to turn it around, does qualify, but even then, there's still 7 games out of it. And it's not like they're gaining ground on High Point. So like, it's more interesting for the second half.
Exactly, because what's going to heat up for the second half is, let's say York finishes the job in the north. Let's say, which is not a given. I mean, a bad series for Staten Island or Long Island could do it. I mean, I just watched them nearly get swept out of a doubleheader for Southern Maryland. So it's possible. But I mean, Lancaster is also 2 games behind them. So we are assuming York hangs on to the North Division. We're going to have 3 teams basically all neck and neck that are going to be going for the half title in the second half, because what York does doesn't really matter. It's going to go to the wild card, which wild card teams competing are all going to be within probably 3 or 4 games of each other to start the second half, because that goes, the wild card, if you need a reminder, goes to the best record overall from either division, whoever has it. So that means something when it's Staten Island, Long Island, Charleston, Southern Maryland, Lexington, and Lancaster, all potentially within just a handful of games. And you can even argue 5 games behind them, Gastonia, who we just have to figure is going to not suck eventually. You got to figure. So that could be very fascinating. And we might be thankful for the 2-half season for once.
Dear God, that's how bad things have gotten. We're talking about the possibility of a 2-half season being a good thing. As rough as it could possibly get. But yeah, it's just like so much of it. It's just so not. It's so blah to watch. And like Lexington isn't even a good 500 team at this point.
No.
Lancaster's kind of coming on strong, but like I don't begin to care about you till the second half. Long Island and Staten Island, while they could conceivably make a play for the division, it's like that play begins and ends when they kneecap the hell out of each other by going on a good series and then a bad series. And it's like they are both committed to just Tanya hardening each other. Looking back again at the South, like Southern Maryland occasionally will decide to look like a real team, but I'd love to know what their record is since that hot start ended. And like Charleston, they're really good pitching wise and they're starting to turn it around. But if I recall correctly from looking at them a little bit ago, they can't hit for shit.
Yeah, I do expect that to fix. I think Charleston might be the realist of the competitors over there. I mean, I was just looking at Lexington. I think Lexington's like 6-14 basically, and they just took 2 out of 3 from Gastonia. But if we're going backwards from that 2 out of 3, they got swept by Charleston and did not look good. They dropped 2 out of 3 to the Ducks at home, which is the longest travel in the league. And the Ducks handled that business. And then Lexington dropped 2 out of 3 to Charleston again. That was at least closer. Lost 2 out of 3 to that same Gastonia team, and then lost 2 out of 3 to High Point before taking 2 out of 3 lost 2 out of 3 again to High Point. And then you have a bit of a win streak there where they swept Staten Island. But that's going back to their 10th game of the season, I believe. 14th game. So like since their 14th game of the season, they've been a wreck, and we're 36 games in. You've got on the other side. Yeah, I'm more of a believer in Charleston. I think that's, if you can get the pitching figured out with that team, I think the offense is easier to bring along. It basically, if this team was a disaster on the pitching side, I'd be like, oh, this might be all there is, I think, from Charleston. But they've been out actually beating some good teams as well. I'm trying to figure out what Southern Maryland's schedules look like here.
I do kind of funny that Chad Cedillo doesn't do anything at Hagerstown, and then he goes to Charleston and he starts to hit.
I think there's something up with Hagerstown. Like, I think there's a vibe issue, maybe. I don't know. I wonder. I've seen a few guys that can at least hold their own other places that really look bad in Hagerstown. But also, it's things like lineup protection or, having other guys around you and a staff that make things a little easier to operate. I'll just point to real quick. Southern Maryland, they started it's tough because they had a big win streak there, but they also had a big losing streak to open things. So they lost 5, and then they won like 5 of 6, and then they won another 5 of 6. And then they lost 4, and then they won 5 of 6. So they're very hot and cold. A lot of it, I think, could be they're falling into the issue of, a little bit of depth trouble going week to week, maybe. That's not 100% what I'm thinking, but that's just what I can kind of see based on schedule. But I can do a deeper dive. I just saw that team up close.
Yeah.
I saw them up close. Relatively impressed.
I'd be willing to buy that thing just because of streaks. Like we really are right when it goes like lose 5, win 5, lose 5, win 5, and it just seems like how they do it. And maybe it is a bit of just scheduling. I mean, they seem to beat up on York, which makes no sense, but I guess the matchup's just kind of there.
Yeah.
And then they turn around. It's like, yeah, we got our ass kicked by Long Island and Gastonia.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. It's
I don't get
questionable because they're winning their weekend series for the most part, which does not indicate depth issues. So, weird, man.
I don't know. Definitely.
Now, looking ahead, though, they got High Point. That's going to be a check-in for sure. They got Gastonia, which has been good news for people, and then they have Lexington. So, you look for them to have a good 9 games here. And then they got Charleston. That's going to be important for them because they're going to be directly battling Charleston down the stretch here and letting Charleston get games in hand. Even if High Point's out of reach, as we said, we're going to be potentially looking at overall record if we need to go to a wild card here. So these games are definitely going to matter, even if we're looking at the second half.
Yeah, and also it could matter too for home field.
Yes, you're right. Good call.
That's where it could start to get a little tricky for High Point to start to slack off or start losing some pieces in the second half. Because they've already been rated a little bit here. Both Edwards going out is a big deal. And Charleston getting hot and keeping it close. Even if they lose the division by, say, 4 games, when you already have your playoff spot in hand, it's not hard to finish out that much. And then you start having a conversation. And even then, we've seen plenty of teams do it, but this is difficult to turn the engine off and turn it back on. So that is something to watch for. Talking High Point, though, I do kind of find it funny how they are notably one of the better base stealing teams, but they only have 1 player in the top, 3.
Yeah,
top
just
5.
sort of a collective, everyone's a threat type of thing.
Everyone's just kind of stealing like 8, 9 bags at a time. And it's kind of funny to me. But they're just always on the move, and I love teams like that, man.
I know that's definitely a more fun game to watch, at least.
10 more than anybody else. Say, was. Only 9 caught
Lexington.
Too.
Lexington pitching staff was sort of a topic, right when they were having that hot start, and I kind of did say a thing about, we'll see when they start seeing teams twice. I mean, they look good against Gastonia, but Gastonia, I don't even know what that is anymore. But they have had some games. It's been rough for a while. Yeah. I mean, they give up 5, 18, 3, 17, 9, 6, 6, 8, and 3, 4, 4, which is actually a good series. But that's Charleston, weak offense. And then a 16, a 6, and a 6 to Long Island at home. Rough one. So, and then a 7, 11, and 3 to Charleston. So it's not even like they have Charleston figured out. So, yeah, that's definitely a problem. But boy, Gastonia's offense, goodness, I'm looking at this. They're the only people who haven't solved Lexington once. Gastonia, what are we doing?
Is it time to have that Gastonia conversation?
My boy.
Are we going to have that conversation?
I don't think so.
No.
Because here's the thing, even big picture, that offense isn't bad, just must be bad matchups. The issue is the fact that they're still giving up over 6 runs a game right now.
Anything else we're really thinking about when it comes to the Atlantic League? Or
because I was like, Gastonia's not that bad. But I got an interesting thing coming for you here. I've got them at this is just counting off time. I got them at 1-11 in 1-run games.
So
which I mean, if you call
finishing it.
Yeah, and now sometimes that is late inning issues, and that is an actual problem. Sometimes that is a bit of luck. In which case, I would say, I mean, just looking at the standings, if you split that, right? Oh boy, put it on the alert.
Yeah, I don't want to point out what I just seen, but it's the top of the 7th in a double header, and down east is not managing too many base
I was
runners
going to
here.
say in the second inning, this feels like one, by the way, and I didn't say
Yeah.
it. We were recording. I'll just point out
Allman
this.
going the distance, it looks like.
You typically would assume you break about even on 1-run games, just law of averages on it. That would put Gastonia 18-18 as well. So not a bad indication for them. It's for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe I'd be interested to text Brady and see if he has any input on that, but it could just be bad breaks. Could be just like for instance, I saw them go to extras 2 times in a row with York, and it was like, it was both times. It was like weird stuff led to the loss. I'll also point out their Pythag, they're like what their record should be based on runs scored and allowed is 17-19. So,
Okay.
There's something to it, maybe. Curious what a couple of the other teams look like.
Yeah. Definitely.
But, yeah, that's the thing. So I think I would bet Gastonia picks up as the year goes on. I would bet Charleston and Gastonia give us a really good race in the second half. I'm interested to see where things are going with the North as well, just with that entire collection of teams other than Hagerstown, obviously.
Yeah.
But hey, Hagerstown's winning games. 1, 2 out of 3 against Lancaster. So who knows?
Anything is possible there. Quick little over under to end it off for the week. York division lead by this time next week when we record. I was originally going to put 6.5, and I realized, oh yeah, you can be up a half game in a division. So we're going to say 6.55. So just over 6.5. They're currently at 4 right now.
Who do they got? Sorry, I want to do a quick schedule check on that one.
Yeah, feel free to look at the schedule. I believe they have Lexington and Hagerstown coming up.
Oh,
because those are winnable games. But
under.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to say under, but I think it's because it's going to be 6. That's what I think.
Because that's the thing. They're not gaining ground on teams that they would need to open that up.
Right. Long Island does have Charleston coming. So that's not fun necessarily.
But Staten Island. Being right there too has. But then again, Staten Island and Lancaster play, and then High Point goes and gets Staten Island.
I am really underwhelmed by Lancaster still. I don't know. They just, it's the same thing. It's the way they just drop random games. Like dropping 2 or 3 to Hagerstown, then pop them 17-2. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, and that's not in like a annoying kind of saying. It is literally, I look at this team, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure. They have just some inexplicably bad runs. And then they have some other runs where they look much better than I can tell you they are. So what is the middle on them? What is to be expected? I mean, again, their Pythag is exactly 18-18. So maybe this is what they are. They're 17-19 now. Going to be interesting. Staten Island's got High Point, by the way. This could see them hit 6.5. Damn.
I'm taking the over. I think it's 7. I think they can get to 7. I think they can win.
I think it's going to be 6. Just because I was so, I don't know. York's really relentless, though.
Here's the thing. I think York can beat. I think they can beat everyone that they're playing. I think it's such a middle of the pack, everybody else, that they're going to drop some games. I think they're going to take it. I think the over. Now, the second one here for you. What is higher at the end of the week? And this is cumulative. This is not just for the week. This is for the season. The amount of wins High Point has, or the amount of losses Gastonia has.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think I get you with one of them. High Point is sitting at 26, whereas Gastonia's 23. So is High Point wins or Gastonia losses, which is higher?
Okay. Let me see. I'm checking my oh man, that's gonna be close, dude.
That's why I picked it.
Okay. I feel like because there's weird things like High Point maybe taking their foot off the gas as this goes. I gotta figure Gastonia has more losses than High Point has Well,
Who's High Point playing, though? I know Staten Island, but then Southern Maryland, too.
no, I think High Point has more wins than Gastonia has losses. And actually, I would say it's not remotely close. I would say by the end of it. That's my bold prediction. Like, I think there's 10 or more games between. The more I see, the more I'm a believer in Gastonia picking this up.
Okay. Curious to see how that goes. So that's what we got for the week. Final check-in here in Quebec and Down East. Quebec currently has one on at the top of the 7th, one away. Looks like coming up is going to be Justin Gideon. In the bottom half of the 7th, Down East will look to try to get their third base run of the game. So far, the only man to reach base 4 Down East appears to be Di Tommaso, who has walked twice.
Yikes.
That's it. So we will see there. And I threw out the theory earlier of, well, maybe they'll just kind of throw the first game to try and win the second one. That is not going to be happening, as the Bird Dogs are now on their 6th pitcher of the night. And they have a game to play after this.
This could be tough.
Yeah. The plus side is Henderson, Roof, and depending on how quick this inning ends, Harlan could all probably pitch in the second game. They faced 5, 4, and 2 batters so far, respectively. So as long as they weren't long at bats, 2 more walks, that may have complicated things. If they were quick at bats and they threw under 15 pitches, maybe they could go again. But that's probably a desperation situation.
Yeah.
They really screwed themselves.
Yep.
Like, actually, this is the final point I do want to make here. And this is just an opinion question here, because I'm genuinely asking.
Okay.
If after you saw your starter only get you 1 out, and obviously then you just get somebody out that can get going quick, the next guy gets you through the 2nd and the 3rd, do you think about getting up another starter or someone like that can go ahead and give you 4 more innings, so that way you save your bullpen?
And then bullpen game the second game?
Yeah, you either bullpen the second one, or you burn the starter.
Potentially, but that starter. Yeah, the question mark is that starter willing to do it? Because you do need to work that out with him. Yeah. I mean, you want to give him a heads up. He's been thinking he's going to pitch game 2, but you got to kind of be in that headspace, right? Because who knows how fast game 1 will be. After halfway through inning 1, you should start having the conversation. Like, hey, if this progresses, are you willing to go? And we'll bullpen the next game, because you could realistically get through 3 relievers in game 2.
Yeah, because I kind of want to send that text, ask if that conversation came up. But
yeah, I think that's an interesting thought.
Yeah,
I would also bring up the one I've asked Baseball Ops guys about before.
Yeah,
and for the most part, they say no.
Yeah,
but I always play with the idea of would you ever keep a guy in between game 1 and 2, which it has to be a specific situation. I think you have to be the away team. No, the home team winning. You win game 1. So you pitch the top half of the 7th. Game ends.
Yeah.
If it's a half-hour turnaround, it is a long inning break, but it's not the end of the world. He can throw a few more, maybe stay loose.
Yeah.
And then come right back and start the next game because you are pitching again. I think that's the opportunity to do it. And he'll just probably lose some pitches because you're going to have to stay loose in the middle. But that's a thought. I've always played with the idea. I think I saw it done once, but I cannot tell you the box score I saw it in. But I'll look for it someday. But it's a 1940s vibe for sure.
I would only do that if walking into that situation the day of game 1, right? Before you even throw the first pitch of the first game, you tell the guy, like, hey, this is a real possibility. Be ready for it. Yeah. They got to be on board for it, A. And B, it would have to be the situation where I would need 1 or 2 guys in that bullpen that I know can be long men ready and rested to go. So that way,
Yeah.
if he came out in the first and just started getting teed off on, yank him. It would, no matter what situation, it would be a short leash.
Yeah,
for
somebody
that
at
first guy.
least, at least getting loose. Yeah.
Yeah, like someone's
back.
always lingering and warm. They're not hot, but
Right.
they're warm. So that way, if it starts to get like, okay, he walked the guy and just gave him a hit, there's two on and like say none away. It's
Mhm.
like, all right, time to go from warm to hot.
I mean, it's like Southern Maryland had a guy come in for the last 3 pitches of game 1, but like he's a reliever. Like you can bring him
Yeah.
back for game 2
Yeah, it's 3
potentially with
pitches.
that, but not to start. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but if it was a starter who came in to do that, which again, at that point, are you bringing a starter in for that? Because you don't want it to be, it can't be like more than 2 innings, in my opinion, probably. It's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So it's a whole thing. But anyway, I have asked probably 4 or 5 baseball ops guys. They've all said hell no. But then on laying out of my theory, they're like, all right, but at least a couple of them are like, all right, well, I see that angle, but like it's really got to line up and everyone has to be on board. So maybe.
Yeah. Recant in a previous statement, it looks like Harlan is actually a batter they've had throw an inning.
There we go. That's about right.
Yeah. Because we
no.
currently have one guy on via walk with 1 away, bottom 7 here. Alden's still in pitching. We will wrap it there. Go to your plugs, and I'll go to mine in a second here.
Yeah. Indie Ball Nation, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. This week I was talking to Nick about before this week. Gonna sort of start handling this in many ways. Like it's my full-time job. So you'll see more consistent posting. So next week you can look forward to, quarter report cards, first quarter report cards for, Atlantic, American, and Frontier. And then probably a couple other videos. I had a really good time at York last week for the free doubleheader. So I got a video coming together of that. So that should go next week. And then maybe a coffee cup update for the morning games, or maybe I got a couple American Association things I want to go over. So we'll see. We'll see what the vibes are at that point. But
We ever know who won the first coffee cup?
Charleston.
Charleston. Okay. We have 2 outs now, bottom 7.
Let's go in Charleston to award them a trophy.
We have 1 strike, 2 outs, bottom 7. It could get interesting in just
All
a
right,
second.
I'll hang.
There it is.
No way.
Got it.
Terrorism. Wow.
He has done it.
Are they celebrating? What's the vibe on the celebration?
Yeah, Braden Allman just threw a no-hitter. That's what we were teasing for the whole total end here. That's better than any plugs at Indie Ball Pod, Indie Ball Report, everywhere else. Bonus episode this week's going to be up on Tuesday. It's going to be our Fantasy Draft Pioneer League edition, so keep an eye out for that. We'll give you the full details in that episode. It's going to be a real fun one. New content schedule up, video explaining it on YouTube, Indie Ball Report Podcast YouTube channel. Gives you the full thing. It's also up on Twitter. So that's all there is to it. We have a second game in this Quebec game, doubleheader. We're going to watch that. Let's see how long they can keep the no-hitter going for. But until next time, don't forget to play ball.